Welcome to the YouTube. We are going to be running down how to break down your goals for a specific phase, whether that be muscle gain, fat loss, or just maintenance. Okay, so the things that we're going to look at is where is your body at right now? What do we do to find our maintenance calories, which we then need to plan out and make adjustments going forward, which takes us on to the next phase, which is planning it out, finding our desired rates of change and adapting for those. How we make changes when that surplus or that deficit stalls and we're no longer losing body weight at the desired pace. And then what goals should be set? Should it just be, I want to lose 20 pounds? Should it be how much to lose per week? Should it be, what are the processes and outcomes and behaviors that I need to do? And what are the things that I need to learn about in order to see the progress that I'm after? So first thing to look at is where is your body at right now? If you're going into a fat loss phase, you've probably got a bit too much body fat than you'd like to continue bulking and building muscle mass. So you're going for fat loss, whether that's a mini cut or whether that is a extended fat loss phase is obviously going to depend upon the individual. If you're going into a surplus, you're like, okay, right, I just don't have the muscle mass I need to build more muscle. That's probably where you're at body composition wise. I wouldn't advise going into a surplus if you are pretty fat already. Like the gauge that I use for that is how comfortable am I with gaining more body fat? Am I already thinking, oh, bloody hell, mate, you're a little bit podgy? Then you probably don't want to go into a surplus, do you? So that's the first point. How do we find our maintenance calories? So to find your maintenance calories, we can use a ballpark number of somewhere between 15 to 18 pounds per pound of calories, not pounds, per pound of body weight. So 15 to 18 calories per pound of body weight is going to be a good idea depending upon your level of activity. So if you know you sit on your arse all day, you don't really do too much, we're definitely on that lower end there. So set a rough calorie target, obviously making sure to get protein, fats, carbs, veggies, fruits, all of that stuff in there. We'll cover that in another video. Make sure you've got all of that stuff, okay? And then you're going to monitor your body weight over the next 2 weeks and weigh in at least 5 times per week to make sure that you are getting a reliable measure. Because if you're weighing in once at the start, once at the end, those could be crazy fluctuations and we need consistent data. So at least 5 times per week, you want to see how that body weight moves. Say you are like 0.1 pound up or down. Okay, yeah, that's probably your maintenance calories. If you're several pounds away from where you started, then you probably need to reassess where you're at. So we found your maintenance calories, we know how much you need to eat in order to maintain your body weight. How do we adjust for that deficit? So in order to adjust for your deficit, what we need to recognize is that a pound of tissue, so body fat, muscle mass, weighs about 3,500 calories. So in order to say lose 1 pound per week, we would need to eat 500 less calories per day. In order to gain 1 pound per week, we would need to eat 500 more calories per day. If we wanted to gain half of that, it would be 250, etc., etc., etc. You see what is going on there. So we know what that's going to look like. How much do we actually want to gain per week if we're in a surplus phase? So what I like to aim for is 0.25 to 0.5% of your body weight per week. If you're a 200-pound individual, that is somewhere between half a pound to 1 pound per week. Any more than that, you're getting fatter than you need to get muscle mass that you could have got anyway. So it's not a very good deal there. Oh yeah, bro, let's get fatter than we actually need to. Yeah, great, that's going to work out really, really nice. So that is obviously not what we want to do. We don't want to get any fatter than we need to. So I wouldn't necessarily set a top limit on once we reach 15 pounds up, we're going to stop that fat loss phase unless you're like got a defined timeline, you're going into a prep or something like that. I would wait until the feedback markers that we're going to be looking at, so your training performance, body fat levels, your pumps in the gym, all of that sort of stuff, and as well as how you visually look. I've sort of said that already. In order to dictate when we end that fat loss phase, go into a mini cut or an extended fat loss phase. Moving on from there, so we've decided that you want to say adjust for a deficit. What do we do from that point onwards? If you want to get into a deficit, how much should we try and lose? I would aim from anywhere from 0.5 all the way up to say 1.25% per week if you were in an aggressive mini cut where that total duration is going to be a little bit shorter. But say you're just trying to lose a good chunk of body fat, you know you've got a decent amount to lose. A good benchmark is 1% of your body weight per week. So for that 200-pound individual, that's 2 pounds per week. And we know how to adjust for that now. We need to create a deficit of 1,000 calories via a combination of your activity and the food that you are eating each and every day. So we know how to adjust for that deficit, we know how to adjust for that surplus. We've done that already. We're getting into the process of how that's all moving. We're seeing body weight drop off, but now you're, say, 190 pounds, and you can see that that rate of gain is stalling. You only lost 1.5 pounds last week. You're on track to lose £1 this week, and that's not the rate of gain we're aiming for. So how do we make adjustments? Okay, so you're losing £1 on average per week. We want to lose an additional pound. Well, we know from earlier that £1 of tissue is roughly 3,500 calories. So we need to create an additional 500 calorie deficit via nutrition or expenditure. Only make one change at a time. There are distinct circumstances outside of this, but as a general rule, make one change at a time, because otherwise, how on earth do you know how somebody responds to nutritional changes versus expenditure changes? You want to look at these things individually, so we're not playing a guessing game of what's doing what, okay? So we've looked at how to make changes there. The same applies for a muscle gain phase. If we want to gain an additional £0.5 pound per week because that rate of gain slowed down a little bit, then what do you need? You need an additional 250 calories per day. You could look at rest day, training day food if you want to, but my general preference is the same food every day, because for the clients that I work with, they're really, really busy, and telling them, yeah, bro, on training days you can have rice, but you need to have potato on a rest day because it's a bit more voluminous, and like they're getting loads of meals to prep, and it's just not worth it for the vast majority of people. For me, yeah, I do it because it's context dependent and what's gonna go on there. So we've looked at all those things there. We've looked at how much we want to lose total, and no, we haven't, in fact. So how much body weight do we want to lose total in a fat loss phase? I would aim for no more than 10% of your body weight, or say 12 weeks total of fat loss, just because beyond that point, like significantly beyond that, those food cravings are going to kick up, energy levels are going to be really, really low, and it's just going to be difficult for you to do. When we could go into a maintenance phase, we could aim to maintain our body weight plus minus 1 to 2% for 2/3 to 1.5 times the amount of time you were dieting. Yes, it takes a little bit longer, but you actually keep that weight off. Do a bloody maintenance phase if you need to. If you've got 20-30% of your body weight to lose, like it's just not worth the risking regaining that, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to lose weight, you probably want to keep it off, and if you don't, you're probably a little bit weird. So hopefully that covers that point there. So aside from that, what other goals should we set for the total phase? Should we just set a goal of this is how much I want to lose, or this is how much I want to gain for a fat loss or a muscle gain phase respectively? Should we set goals for each and every week? Yeah, we probably should. We probably should set a goal for how much we lose each week, because if we don't have a target of, right, this is how much body weight we are trying to gain or lose each and every week, it's really, really easy to say, like, oh yeah, I'll just lose a bit more next week. I'll just try harder. If you don't have that, I'm trying to lose 1% of my body weight per week, and if it's above that, I need to add food. If it's below that, I need to reduce the food so that we can stay on track, because otherwise you get halfway through your fat loss phase and you've lost a quarter of the weight that you should have by now. That is not a recipe for success and feeling good about yourself. But a really, really underestimated aspect of goal setting that I see a lot of people miss out on is the process goals, the behavior goals, the learning goals that they should be going through, okay? If you don't change your behavior, you don't undertake any new processes, you don't learn about things, how on earth are you supposed to see any changes? So that's a big section of the goals that I set with clients. I set long-term goals, so for the next couple of years, phase-specific goals, and then mesocycle goals and weekly goals, breaking that down even more. But the behavioral goals, so this would be things such as the required caloric deficit, the amount of cardio, the amount of steps, the amount of training sessions that someone needs to complete in order to tick off those daily boxes and therefore achieve their long-term goal. We then have learning goals. So what is the stuff that you need to understand in order to be better at what you're trying to achieve? So if it's nutrition, understand what makes up a healthy meal. What do we want to include? Do we want protein, fruits, veggies, carbs, fats, etc.? What does a quote-unquote healthy fat look like? What is it? What is it? How do we find that out? That's the stuff we need to learn about. On the training side of things, how do we set up an exercise for your body specifically? Because most gyms don't have particularly good machines, and we need to understand how that varies for the individual so that you can actually train and progress over an extended long period of time. That's what extended means. Like, what are you talking about? Otherwise, you're just going to end up getting broken. How do we execute things appropriately? How do we train with intensity? These are all things we need to learn about. Don't just rely on an outcome goal. focus on the things that you need to do in order to get there. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you do want any more information on anything like this, you've got questions or you want more videos from me, then let me know down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense. If you absolutely hate me, leave a dislike, that's also fine. See ya.